Good morning, students. So, welcome to our new lecture. As we are discussing chapter number 7, energy flow in an ecosystem, we have seen the introduction to this particular chapter in the last lecture. Okay, so we have seen the types of consumers, that is, primary consumers, secondary consumers, top consumers, and mixed consumers. Now, in this particular lesson, we are going to see about food chain and food web. Okay, so, as we all know that every element or every living thing which is present in the ecosystem depends on each other. Okay, so all the living organisms which survive in a particular ecosystem are dependent on each other. Okay, they are dependent for their survival. So, as you can see a figure over here, in this particular figure, you can see that plants are produced with the help plants grow and produce their food with the help of photosynthesis process. Okay, so here you can see a grass. Okay, so on this grasshopper feeds. Okay, grasshopper feeds or grasshopper gets its nutrition from the grass. Okay, then frog gets its food from grasshopper. So grasshopper is the food of frog. Then we can see that snakes survive on frogs. Okay, snake consumes frogs, and the snake is consumed by the vulture or eagle. So from this we can see that this living organisms depends on each other or interact with each other for their nutrition. So interactions go on continuously between producers, consumers, and saprophytes. So the interaction between all the living organism is observed. Okay, you will see that the producer interact with the consumers, and the consumers are interacted with the saprophytes. Okay, saprophytes are the living organisms which get the nutrition from the dead bodies of living organisms, other living organisms. There is a definite sequence in these interactions which is called the food chain. So what is food chain? Food chain is nothing but the interactions between the living organisms or consumers, producers, and saprophytes. So the interaction between producers, consumers, and saprophyte is nothing but a food chain. Okay, that represents the food chain. Each chain consists of 4, 5, or more links. Okay, there can be 4 or 5 or more number of links. As you can see, link 1, 2, 3, 4, and here you can see there are 5 links. Okay, an ecosystem consists of many food chains that are interconnected at various levels. Okay, so inside a particular food chain you will find that link can be connected to another particular food chain. Okay, so branching of the food chain can be observed. Thus a food web is formed. Okay, so the when the interaction between this producers, consumers, and saprophytes take place, we will call it as food chain. But when several food chains are there in an ecosystem and they are going to interconnect each other, then that particular phenomena is going to be called as food web. Okay, what it will be called as? It will be called as food web. Okay, now an organism may be the prey for many other organisms. For example, an insect feeds upon leaves of various plants, but the same insect is the prey for different animals like frog, wall lizard, birds, etc. Okay, so the single living organism does not consume a single other living organism. मतलब एक जो living organism है वो सिर्फ दूसरे किसी एक living organism के ऊपर ही survive नहीं करता है. जो insects होते हैं वो leaves खाते हैं, लेकिन वो अलग अलग plants के leaves को खा सकते हैं. ओके, और उसी इंसेक्ट को जो दूसरे लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स है वो क्या करते हैं, खाते हैं, वो उनका शिकार करते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल फ्रॉग है, वॉल लिजर्ड है, बर्ड्स एक्सेट्रा. कि जो ग्रास हॉपर है उसको कंज्यूम कौन करता है, फ्रॉग करता है। लेकिन फ्रॉग के साथ साथ वॉल लिजर्ड भी ग्रास हॉपर को कंज्यूम कर सकता है, बर्ड्स भी कंज्यूम करते हैं। ओके, now if this is to be shown in a figure, it will form an integrate web instead of linear food chain। देखो अगर मैं यहाँ पे ग्रास हॉपर जो है वो ग्रास को कंज्यूम कर रहा है, लेकिन ग्रास को कंज्यूम करने वाले और भी अदर लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स है, इंसेक्ट्स है, और अगर हम उन इंसेक्ट्स को भी इस पर्टिकुलर फूड चेन में दिखाना चाहेंगे, रिप्रेजेंट करना चाहेंगे, तो ये हमारा फूड चेन है वो क्या होगा, कॉम्प्लेक्स हो जाएगा। ओके, सो सच एन इंट्रिकेट नेटवर्क इज कॉल्ड अ फूड वेब। जब हम लोग एक फूड चेन में अलग अलग इंटरैक्शंस दिखाएंगे प्रोड्यूसर्स, कंज्यूमर्स और सैप्रोफाइट्स के बीच में, तो वो हमें क्या देगा, फूड वेब देगा। क्या देगा वो हमें, फूड वेब। एन इंट्रिकेट नेटवर्क of food chain is called as food web। Okay, generally food webs are found everywhere in nature, so you will find food webs in every ecosystem, in every part of the nature। Okay, now here you can see a lot of animals and plant species have been shown here। Okay, so this all animals are dependent on each other। Now suppose if the number of deer or reindeers, okay, got reduced, then what will be the impact of this particular reduction or elimination of these species on the nature? It will impact at a very great manner। Okay, how? Now these deers are consumed by the tigers or the predators of the jungle। Now, if the number of deers got reduced, the tigers are not going to get their food. Hence, they will get out from the jungle and they will move towards another place, okay, where they can get their food। Okay, this will harm or this will create a havoc for the other living organisms for as human beings। देखो, जितने भी लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स हैं वो एक दूसरे को कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं, लेकिन उसी के साथ साथ ये जो इंटरेक्शन है सभी लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म का, वो क्या कर रहा है, एनवायरनमेंट को बैलेंस करने का काम कर रहा है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर ग्रास हॉपर्स बहुत ज्यादा हो गए, ग्रास हॉपर जो है वो राइस के फील्ड पे कंज्यूम करते हैं, राइस खाते हैं राइस के फील्ड से। ओके, और सपोज बहुत ज्यादा ग्रास हॉपर्स हो गए और फ्रॉग्स है ही नहीं, देयर आर नो फ्रॉग्स बट द नंबर ऑफ ग्रास हॉपर हैज इंक्रीज्ड। सो इससे इम्पैक्ट क्या देखने मिलेगा हमें कि वो जो ग्रास हॉपर है वो कंप्लीटली पूरा जो फील्ड है, पैडी फील्ड होगा, राइस का जो फील्ड होगा, वो क्या कर देंगे, वो लोग पूरा तबाह कर देंगे, पूरा नुकसान कर देंगे उसका। ओके, क्यों नुकसान होगा, क्योंकि फ्रॉग्स नहीं है उस ग्रास हॉपर को कंज्यूम करने के लिए। सो अगर किसी एक भी लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म का नंबर रिड्यूस हो जाता है इकोसिस्टम में, तो वो आपको क्या देखने मिलेगा, यू विल फाइंड एन इम्बैलेंस इन द इकोसिस्टम। व्हाट यू विल फाइंड, यू विल फाइंड एन imbalance in the ecosystem। That means the interaction between all the living organism is important for the betterment of the ecosystem or environment। Okay, now as we have studied about the food chain and food web, there is interaction between all this living organism। Okay, so whenever we talk about food, obviously it is the source of energy to any living organism। So we will study the energy pyramid। Okay, now as we know, according to the first law of thermodynamics, that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, or it can be transformed from one form into another form। So whatever energy is consumed by the living organism in the food, in the form of food, okay, it is the same energy which was present when the earth was created or originated। तो जो एनर्जी है वो सिर्फ ट्रांसफर हो रही है एक ऑर्गेनिज्म से दूसरे ऑर्गेनिज्म में, एक लाइफ से दूसरे लाइफ में वो ट्रांसफर हो रही है, लेकिन एनर्जी क्रिएट नहीं हो रही है यहाँ पर, ये हमें ध्यान में रखना है। नाउ there are certain levels in the energy pyramid। We are going to start with the trophic level। Okay, what is this level? Each level in the food chain is called a trophic level। Each and every layer or level in the food chain is called as trophic level. So here you can see four levels have been represented. First is the level of producer, then the first trophic level, second trophic level, and the third trophic level. Okay, so first trophic level is of herbivores, the animals which feed or which lives on plants. Then carnivores, okay, these are the animals which live on other animals. Okay, then omnivores, which consume plants as well as animals for their nutrition. Now trophic level is the step at which the organism obtains its food in the chain. Okay, what is trophic level? It is the step at which the organism is going to obtain the food or nutrition. The amount of matter and energy gradually decreases from producers at lowest level to top consumers at the highest level. The energy which is utilized by these organisms is going to decrease, okay, from producers to the omnivores. Okay, that means the producers have a high amount of energy, whereas herbivores have less than those of producers. Then carnivores have less energy than that of herbivores, and omnivores have less energy than that of carnivores, herbivores, and the producers. Okay, now here an introduction is given to a scientist, Lindemann, the name of the scientist. In 1942, studied the food chain and an energy flow through it. Okay, so Lindemann, a scientist named as Lindemann, he studied the food chain and energy flow which is observed in a food chain in the year 1942. Then Charles Elton, a British scientist, first proposed the concept of the ecological pyramid in the 1927 after his study of the tundra ecosystem of the Bear Islands in England. So again, another scientist called as Charles Elton, he was from England. Okay, he proposed the concept of ecological pyramid. So this pyramid, which is used to represent the energy level of the producers, herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. Okay, this particular pyramid was proposed by Charles Elton in the year 1927, and this proposal was due to his observation of the ecosystem. And what was the ecosystem? Tundra ecosystem of the Bear Islands in England. Okay, hence this pyramid is also called the Elthonian pyramid. So the ecological pyramid is also called as Elthonian pyramid, okay, named after the Charles Elton. So now this particular figure you can see, this is the pyramid of energy in an aquatic system. Okay, so there are n number of ecosystems. Take an example of small pond, or take an example of small part of a particular forest, or take your home. Okay, take a single room from your home, or take a glass of water. Even a glass of water can be considered as an ecosystem. So there are several types of ecosystems, and we can represent the energy levels of those ecosystems in the form of pyramid. Okay, here in the figure you can see that the pyramid of energy is given for aquatic ecosystem. Okay, now this particular pyramid shows the energy transfer that takes place at each trophic level. There are different levels of energy exchange in the food chain. As you can see, in every food chain, the levels of energy is going to be different. Okay, the amount of energy consumed by tiger is different that of the amount of energy consumed by the grasshopper or frog. It depends on the body of that particular living organism. जैसी बॉडी है, जैसा काम है उस पर्टिकुलर लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म का, उस हिसाब से उसको एनर्जी की जरूरत है. आया समझ में आप लोगों को? The initial quantity of energy goes on decreasing at every level of energy exchange. So whenever energy is transferred from one part to another part, there is going to be the reduction in energy. Suppose there are five levels: one, two, three, four, and five levels, and energy transfer is starting from the first level. Okay, so this energy transfer will lead to the reduction of energy after each level. हर एक level के बाद कुछ अमाउंट जो है एनर्जी का वो क्या होने वाला है, कम होने वाला है। इसका मतलब क्या होगा, वो एटमॉस्फेयर में चला जाएगा, एनवायरमेंट के दूसरे फैक्टर्स के साथ क्या हो जाएगा, वो मिल जाएगा। ओके, now this pattern of energy exchange in an ecosystem is called as pyramid of energy। जो एनर्जी एक्सचेंज हो रही है, जो एनर्जी एक्सचेंज का पैटर्न है, उसे ही क्या कहा जाता है, pyramid of energy कहा जाता है। So in this particular example you can see that phytoplanktons, okay, they have an energy of 10,000 kilocalories. Okay, so zooplanktons which survive on phytoplanktons, okay, they are going to consume this phytoplanktons, and the energy conversion is 10,000 kilocalories to 1,000 kilocalories. So such a great reduction in the energy. Then zooplanktons, okay, it is consumed by fishes. The energy conversion again reduced to 100 kilocalories. And we humans consume fishes, obviously. And how much amount of energy is consumed from the fishes by the humans? It is 10 kilocalories. Okay, now after the death of apex consumers, their energy becomes available to the decomposers. Fungi and other microorganisms decompose the bodies of dead animals. Suppose we have caught some fish from the river and we found that that particular fish is not suitable to eat. What we will do, we will throw it in a garbage or we will throw it anywhere else. Now that fish is dead. After the death of that particular living organism, who is going to consume or who is going to absorb the energy of that living organism? It is going to be absorbed by fungi or other microorganisms or called as saprophytes. Okay, तो हर एक लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म जब उसकी डेथ हो जाती है तो उसके डेथ के बाद जो माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स होते हैं या फिर जो फंगी होता है वो क्या करता है, उससे एनर्जी कंज्यूम कर लेता है, डेड बॉडी से एनर्जी को कंज्यूम करता है। ओके, इसका मतलब क्या है कि वो डेड बॉडीज को डिकम्पोज कर रहा है। सो ऐसे ऑर्गेनिजम्स को क्या कहा जाता है, डीकम्पोजर्स कहा जाता है। व्हाट डू वी रेफर देम, वी रेफर देम एज डीकम्पोजर्स। Now, in the process of obtaining food from the remains of organisms, decomposers convert them into simple carbon compounds. This substance is easily mixed with air, water, and soil, from where they are again absorbed by plants and incorporated into the food chain. देखो, जब डिकम्पोजर्स ये डेड बॉडीज को कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं, डिकम्पोज कर रहे हैं, तो वो एक सिंपल कार्बन कंपाउंड्स को फॉर्म करते हैं। ओके, और वो कार्बन कंपाउंड्स एयर, वाटर और सॉइल में मिक्स हो जाते हैं, और अगेन ये जो कंपाउंड्स है इन्हें प्लांट्स एब्जॉर्ब करता है और वापस से फूड चेन हमें रिपीट होते हुए नजर आती है। ओके, now you can now see that due to the food web formed by the various modes of nutrition, energy and various nutrients circulate continuously in the ecosystem। इससे हमें ये समझ में आ रहा है कि जो एनर्जी है वो सर्कुलेट हो रही है एक पार्ट से दूसरे पार्ट में। ओके, फ्रॉम वन लिंक ऑफ द फूड वेब टू अनदर लिंक ऑफ द फूड वेब। ओके, the modes of nutrition, though it is different with respect to the living organisms, but the energy is consumed and it is circulated continuously in the ecosystem. Okay. Now, the sun is the most important source of energy in any ecosystem. So consider any ecosystem, you take an example of any ecosystem, one of the important source of energy is going to be sun. Okay. Now, green plants of the ecosystem store some of the solar energy in the form of food. As we all know, the food is produced in plants with the help of process called as photosynthesis, and photosynthesis is carried out by the energy absorbed by the sun. Okay, so sun or solar energy is very important energy for the producers. Before reaching the decomposers, this energy is passed on from one trophic level to the next trophic level. So at every trophic level, this energy is transferred. Okay, decomposers dissipate some amount of energy in the form of heat. Whenever the decomposers are going to decompose a dead body, they are going to dissipate the amount of energy into the atmosphere or into the environment. However, no part of the energy ever returns to the sun. We have to keep this in mind. The energy which is absorbed by the earth or the elements present on the earth, okay, those energy is not going to be back. to the sun. Okay, वो वापस sun तक नहीं पहुंचने वाले. Sun is not going to reabsorb those energies. Hence, such passage of energy is referred to as one-way transport. Whenever the energy is transferred from one level to the second level, and the same energy is not again absorbed by the level 1, okay, then that means the transfer of energy is only one way. Then this is called as one way transport of the energy. Okay, now the Indian Institute of Ecology and Environment, which is in Delhi, and it was established in the year 1980, is involved mainly in research, training, and arranging workshops and seminars. This institute has published the International Encyclopedia of Ecology and Environment. So, to study each and every aspect of the technical or science subjects, okay, there are several institutes and organizations. Those institutes and organizations dedicate themselves to study and to observe other phenomenons and processes which are taking place in the environment. Okay, so this particular institute, that is Indian Institute of Ecology and Environment, okay, what does it do? It observes the environment and ecological processes. Okay, it carries out certain research and training programs and workshops and seminars for other technical students. Okay, and it transfers the knowledge which they are gaining by performing certain experiments and observations to the other citizens of the nation. Okay, now in this particular lesson we have studied about the energy levels. Okay, we have seen the pyramid of energy. In the next lecture we will study about the cycles. Okay, biogeochemical cycles. So until then, goodbye.